So this next video that I'm about to show is a good example of what happens when someone has improper tree work done in the past, and now someone like me comes along and we've got to do the best we can with a bad situation. I'm going to show you clearly some of the poor cuts and what happens over the long haul when you top a tree or make harsh cuts, and then the tree grows back, but not very safe. So I hope you enjoy this video, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and hit the like button. Hit that little bell over there. It'll notify you when a new video comes along, and comment. I try to read all the comments, and I respond to as many of them as I can. So thanks so much for all your continued support for a long time. One of the most important things that I like to explain and portray in the videos that I do is what happens in a tree after somebody else has worked on it in the past that maybe didn't understand or maybe did such a poor job. But the homeowner or the people that own the tree, they don't understand what's going on because frankly they can't see it. They can see it from the ground. So I like to show from the perspective of being up in the tree, or oftentimes up in the bucket truck to look down, so you can have a better idea of what's going on. So we have three sweet gum trees here, Liquidambar styraciflua, and they are native to the east coast of the United States. They're commonly planted here because they have beautiful fall color, but there's a lot of problems with this tree, and unfortunately so often we get into trees that have been topped severely or butchered, and when I read the tree, when I get up there, it's really interesting to look, kind of like detective work, at what I find up in the tree. So I've got a few stills here, and you can see that the relationship to the new growth and the old cavities oftentimes leads to future failures. You can see how deep this particular cavity is. It's not a huge cavity, but it's not getting better. It's trying to close up, but that internal decay is always there. And because the trees were topped, there's also a lot of sun scald on the tops of the branches. And you can't see this from the ground. So the inside of the branches are drying out and decaying, but the growth continues to be additive to the tree, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until the tree starts to self-destruct. So we did find a lot of failures, a lot of small branches that were broken up in this tree. And we have to make some decisions. I'm showing you this image because what I'm trying to do is get enough of the weight out of the trees without retopping them. So that's kind of hard. So every area in the top of this tree that was topped resprouted with 3 or 4 new sprouts. And there's an early picture early on of what I'm dealing with. You can see the old topping cuts, and there's these straight 15 and 20 foot shoots that are coming off of those old topping cuts. You can see Jorge up there working on it. And here's an example of what we're finding throughout the tree. This was still alive. It was still green, but you can see it was torn and broken down. So we chipped and chipped and chipped and chipped. We took a mountain of weight out of these 3 trees. And you can see that I didn't want to retop the trees, but I went up to every section, and where there was 3 or 4, I took the biggest and the heaviest of the pieces out and left 1 or 2 of the smaller pieces. So the trees still have the same height and the same shape. Well, not quite as high, but the integrity of the structure appears to be the same. Now, the only other option that I could find would be to retop. Oh, this is kind of funny. This guy came over and said, "Hey, Blair!" It turns out these landscapers watch my channel. So back to work. Up in the tree here. This is all before lunchtime. And I'm just going to continue to show what I'm finding. This is interesting that there was a lot of defects that were accumulative. There was a defect, and then it was very clear to me that these trees were harshly pruned in the past. And the irony of the whole thing is that the people said that the guy that trimmed the tree the first time did such a good job, but all I could find was top cuts. There's an area where there was a big stub that I had to clean up. Unfortunately, I kind of nicked the new tissue right there, so I'm showing you that's my mistake, not a huge mistake, but you try to be as careful as you possibly can when you're working with a chainsaw, and you don't want to continue to add more and more problems. It happens. I clipped myself with the handsaw. I think I have more injuries from the handsaw than I do just about anything else. It's almost a daily occurrence. Look at the weaknesses. Look at the old cuts. Look at the scars on the branches. And a lot of them are hidden because the tree continues to grow around them. But you can see, look at those scars. Somebody just wailed on it with a chainsaw and made little marks all the way up and then topped it off. And people think, oh, the tree is healing. The tree is growing around. It's strengthening. And to some extent it is. So lunchtime came and it started to rain. So I took my lunch in the truck, and can't stop just because of a little rain. We got back up in the trees, and here's more areas of defect. You can see top cuts and top cuts on top of the top cuts. So this whole area is extremely weak. So we had to get a lot of weight out of there. So wherever there was 2, I took the biggest of the 2 out. I suppose I could have retopped the tree down, but I was really trying to retain some of the integrity of the tree. And there's a lot of people that will argue that once this happens, the best thing you can do is just start all over again and keep it under control. But that kind of creates a maintenance monster. So I did tell them that these trees are always going to be a problem. You can see all the doubling up on the left there. There's a little bit. These shots are all before, and I wanted to show you what's going on up in the tree. And this is what it looks like after. The left side's not quite done, but that shows you pretty much the whole job. So when was the last time you pruned these trees?
I think they probably got done probably 10 years ago.
Oh, 10 years?
Yeah, probably that long.
Okay.
Trees are not my thing, particularly. Lots of stuff is, but not trees. I don't really know how to manage them. And
unfortunately,
I realized the first time it was done by Jose Joe. And he really understood trees. And he was good. But I don't think he was involved in the next 2. And I asked the guy who inherited Joe's business to prune them, and he's just buggered them up.
Yeah. Did you plant these trees?
No.
And you've been here 30 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're the second owners of the house.